All right, here we are, Weed for the People, episode 17, man. We got a superstar with us, Nate D in the house, man. Renaissance man, fucking longtime hustler at Connected, founder, man of many hats. It turned, man. They're really kicking ass and taking names. We'll get into that later, but got a lot of history too, so we'll touch on some fun shit. Pleasure to have you on, Nate, man.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Look, I'll kick it off. First let's start on Turn a little bit, and then we'll go back and we'll kind of talk about it. But I just want to say this to start. Motherfucking Turn coming out, top 10 brand on our shelf. I just got the 30 days on it. Like to have a top 10 brand on a new launch is like unheard of. So fucking props to you. Super impressive with all the success. So I'm gonna rewind and figure out what DNA, how the fuck you got it, and talk to you a little bit about it. We'll touch on some of our history. So tell us a little bit, how you got, first of all, where you were born, where you come from, and then how you got into cannabis.
Yeah, so born from Sacramento, basically the hub for, exotic flower. Some of the best cultivators, not myself, but are based out of Sacramento. And, I've always had the itch for learning more. And I was blessed to be, born in Sacramento and be able to be around such a very cultural relevant, area for cannabis. I got in the game, as Elliot sometimes refers this gentleman as Daddy.
I got to Daddy.
I got in the game, and one of my brothers, my best friends, Caleb Counts, the founder of Connected, he started me off in the industry at his shop in Sacramento off of Fruit Ridge. At the time, it was called Collective Efforts. So I started working with him over at the shop. One of my buddies introduced me to him, and basically just worked up the ladder with Caleb. He took me by his side, met with you guys down the line years later, but that's kind of how I kicked it off with the industry. I owe pretty much everything that I have to today to that man.
Cool. Yeah, no, we've talked about this on the show. We had Caleb on, and then the Caleb tree, Connected tree is deep. Nate D comes from it. I come from it. Sophia, we were just talking before we got on. Sean, a lot of other great
Jordan
people.
From Blueprint.
Jordan, that's right. Former CEO. And Caleb's just one of those guys, man. He uplifts you, wants to see everybody do good. And not everybody's like that, right? When they go out on their own. He's always been a great source of information and a fucking real one. So let's, fast forward a little bit. So we're, I think I even got a little newspaper here. Oh, here it is. We kind of started, we were fucking around a little bit in the 215, which we'll get into, like the tail end of it. But I want to talk about Belmont Shore, which was like my little baby that we opened up. That was our first store. Started as a Connected. Everybody that knows our history knows that. Nate D was right there with us, opening the shop. I remember actually we're hustling, trying to get it open, and we were like across the street waiting for furniture at Legends. I think we were bringing furniture in at 2 a.m. Tell us a little bit about, I know you opened a lot of stores. About opening stores and how that went.
I mean, as we all know, retail is not the easiest. And back then, we struggled because I think at that time, Long Beach, out of all the neighboring cities, were all recreational, and Long Beach never turned on recreational until months later.
Yeah, it was like August of that year. Yeah. They fucking lagged. Yeah.
Lagged, and it was super hard. But, that store was interesting because obviously in Belmont Shore, such a high class area, opening that store was really fun. And, our relationship and, furthermore, and growing our relationship was huge. But, the biggest thing for that store, I think we were the first licensed shop.
I'm going to pull it out. We might have to clip it in. I don't know what our tech is, but let's see.
Oh, man.
There's that the camera there? There's me and Nate D getting our little coverage. I was pretty proud. It's our little local paper.
Yeah.
We'll get it in this camera right there. There we are, rocking it up. So, we got a little press on it, nothing crazy.
Dude, that was funny.
And then, that area is, a little bit more, whatever you want to say, affluent. So it was like a novel idea to have a store down there, but always had a lot of respect on how you opened it, moved forward, the fucking hustle between, all the different things that you did for Connected.
And even at that store too, we still had Santa Ana at that time, then after, that location, we opened up Cherry. So, really expanded that footprint very quickly and opening up all those stores.
I'm going to drop one more, then I'm going to put away the props. All right, here we go. I don't know if this is going to show. But this one, I actually, we were cleaning out the old office, Probably not going to show
that's
that.
the mayor, right?
Well, he's a congressman now.
Yeah.
This is when he probably actually liked us. He said it was his favorite store back then. But he's actually congressman. Pretty outspoken. I don't really interact with him more. He was actually a pretty cool guy when he was mayor. But congressman now came in, said it was his first store. So we got a little, a little something on that, which was cool. Yeah. And then we were moving all the offices. So I'm throwing everything out, and like, it was like stashed way in the back. And I was like, oh, I can't leave that. So it's still been stashed in the back of my new office. And I was like, oh, Nate's coming on. Let me look around.
That's hilarious.
I found the news article in like some fucking thing in my house. So let's fast forward a little bit. This is a little quick fun, history. So, you're, and look, I've known Nate D for a while. I don't know, 8 years or so, maybe 9. I don't know.
I mean, we've been working together since like fucking the start of everything. I mean, really, seeing where Catalyst has come, you've watching where we've come, and like, just like, the synergy between both parties has been phenomenal to watch each other grow. Yeah,
as far as legal cannabis, you were there before we were even fucking born, right? And then even, obviously Caleb being, the big boss at the time, but Nate D was a fucking crazy amount of knowledge. I think that knowledge is translated, and the grit and the hustle and understanding the game and the success you're having today. It turned, and then you always had a hustle, man. You this fucking guy was like Heyman, if you remember, what was that, In Living Color? He had like 9 jobs.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's doing that too. And then I talked to a few guys, oh, he's doing that too.
And that's what, like, for going into it, like, that's why me and Caleb got along so well, because I was the yes guy. Like, I was like, yeah, I'll fucking do it. Like, someone else wouldn't do something, like, no, let's just get it done and then fucking do it, or have new ideas, just continue grinding and hustling. I mean, like, that's what got you here, everyone here. I mean, it's just to continue doing things that no one else wants to do. No,
it's hard bastards only. We had some meeting with some guys yesterday, same story. So tell us about being a sales rep for Connected. I know you crushed it at that. That's part of your, history. I know you set up the stores and you got more into the sales side, right?
Yeah. So, from retail, we want Connected, and right when basically legalization happened, like, we're like, all right, we have all this flower that we got to sell. And, at that time, we were, Connected with selling pounds for what, 4,000 to 4,500 a pound, fucking crushing it, if not more. But that's because they were the only thing on the market. But fast forward to legalization, we had to start, putting stuff into jars and selling it. And it was our first time ever doing it. We started with, this guy named Larry, Josh, a big Josh.
I got a shout out on the last one. Yeah.
Shout out to Josh. And then myself, really leading in Southern California of starting the sales team. It was a grind, being at that time, I think we're $37.50 an eighth, like the most expensive eighth. And there wasn't that much weed on the market. It was like, oh, what the fuck, $37.50? But it was fire. But, we started that. We started off with, just myself and us basically.
Yeah, by the way, just so everybody who's watching, to clarify, that's $37.50 wholesale. So that's like out the door at 80, right? Yeah.
I've I think Santa Barbara is like 140 with their taxes. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, we started that. And then we started building the sales team out. We started growing, getting more numbers up, started moving more weight to the stores. Fast forward a little bit later, we ended up having sales reps throughout the whole state, 8 sales reps. And then I started to oversee all the sales team. And then we got a little bit bigger. Then I took on more roles of help with, business development in other states and helping launch stuff. But yeah, it was definitely a ride, just trying to grow the most expensive weed and also selling the most volume, which was fucking tough. It wasn't an easy task at all.
So let me ask you this question. So you got the hustle, you got the grit, you got the gift of gab, you're a good salesperson. So now you're running all these salespeople, right? How do you instill in them what you got in you? Because you're the leader, right? And as a leader, I think it's as important as you can. You get the most out of everybody around you, and they might have different skill sets, but now you're working with a sales team. What was your approach to get them to buy into, like, yo, stay on task, do what you're doing, let's sell the fuck out this weed?
But it really is just lead by example. I mean, it's the biggest thing, is leading by example and showing them that you're down to get dirty with them and do the grind. A lot of people and a lot of executives want to sit behind a desk and not do the work themselves. And that shows bad leadership to me. And, when you're in the hustle and in the grind, jumping into the territories, flying from San Diego to San Francisco, back to Orange County, up to Humboldt, then to Sacramento again, to be in touch with all your sales reps. Like you're always on the move in the groove and just making sure that you're doing exactly what they're doing and leading by example. Because if you're not leading by example, they're not going to want to work hard. Plus, you're not going to know if they're actually doing the work if you're not in the hustle with them and grinding.
No, I love that answer. I think people sometimes get it wrong that like you get a bark orders, like that's not the way to be a boss. You got to fucking lead by example. Let me ask you too, like if you had a bad guy on your team or somebody that wasn't putting out, you know, it's a hard thing that we have to deal with sometime, you know, ever terminate anybody? Like how did you deal with that? Because it's a super hard thing. And look, you're running a team. So at the end of the day, you got to, you know, the realm, I call it, or whatever, in that case, you know, connected is what everybody is striving to improve. So if you have people on there that aren't putting out, you know, how was that just emotionally and how would you go through that?
I mean, firing someone's always, it's not the easiest, right? But the good thing about in this position, it's sales. Sales, you have one job. You have fucking numbers to hit. And if you don't hit them, you know, you get pipped and then 2 months, 3 months go by, you're gone. You know, unfortunately, that's just the part of being in sales. And like you can be on the top and crushing it in your 1 month, and then the next month you're doing shitty, and then the next month after you're doing shitty, next month after you're doing shitty, then you're gone. Like it's just basically the part of being in sales. And that's was the easier part of letting people go, right?
Because you actually have a metric.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yes, you're not like, oh, it's HR. Oh, you do marketing. Are you like, what do you do? Are you posting a social media post? No, you're not selling. You're not showing to accounts, and you just got to go. Like, and we ran that team very strong and hard. Like we rode them to making sure that they did their job, and you know that's why there's a lot of early success at being the highest price point flower. Obviously, the quality of flower. So shout out to the cultivation team growing the best weed in the game back then. But it's just like that was part of being it is like being on top, having the highest sales, and growing.
All right, here's a fun one, and I brought this up with Caleb. So, you know, there was a point, you know, look, we're trying to win these licenses, and, you know, we're litigating with cities and, you know, whatever. You got to name indispensable parties with your fellow retailers, and we're making a little bit of noise. I think since then we've, you know, tamped it down a lot, at least in like 98% of the cases, but we were a little fiery back then. So, you know, we're still rocking the name Connected on our stores, even though it's a different ownership group. We got the name licensed at this point. You know, how was it in particular? And we try to keep it real as fuck here. Walking in, trying to sell Connected weed, you know, in particular, let's say Long Beach or some other areas.
Selling weed in fucking Southern California was damn near impossible. Yo, there's this founder named Elliot Lewis. He owns Connected. He's suing me. Or like, no, there's so many Connected stores. This guy named Elliot's going crazy. It was damn near almost impossible to sell weed in Southern California, but we did the job. Right. You know, we got it done, but it was especially Long Beach. I mean, Long Beach was the hardest to sell it. No one wanted to sell it, buy it. I mean, we didn't sell any weed, I don't think, in Long Beach until the name switched from Connected to Catalyst at that time. And then it still took like a year and a half for people to understand that we weren't connected. They're like, oh, that's just a cover up. That's just Connected's new name. And like, no, it wasn't us, but it wasn't easy. You didn't make it an easy task for sure to sell weed in Southern California.
I don't know. Like, it's a little bit of a like kind of compliment that it's like, oh damn, but it is what it is. I know that's how it played out. And then, you know, we mentioned this on Caleb's one, but like, that was kind of the genesis to the new name, because we actually were under contract once we got to the licensing side of it until 2023, which would just be now. When I said it to Caleb, he was like, oh God, 23. like he was like, it would have been like 1,000 years. So, you know, he hits me up, and I think it was a big part, like you saying, like, yo, dude, we can't fucking move this shit. There's still accounts today. He said he's barely getting back on. So then he was like, hey man, you know, you guys are, you know, undercut and you got this litigation. And we were, ultimately our target was the cities, but you know, you got to bring other people in. It's just the way the rule book works. So, but that's what basically spawned Catalyst. We both agreed at that time, hey, I don't want to fuck your shit up. We've been wanting to do our own thing. So, you know, sometimes whatever shit happens for a reason. But I think that's just an interesting story. And then, you know, as, you know, some brands, there are some, you know, retail and wholesale. It's always something to, you know, keep in mind. Like, hey, you start popping up too many retails, people are going to be like, yo, like, why am I trying to sell the other guy's, you know, product?
And it happens now. There's a couple big brands out there that have a lot of retail footprints and it's like, it's tough for sure. It's not an easy task. And, you know, me now having a retail store and having a brand, it's like, that was the big thing. I didn't want them to have anything to deal with each other, because it will cannibalize one of the other.
Right. I think like one good, like, or two good.
Yeah.
You know, and then look, if you're with the big boys, you know, take Steezy as an example, you know, their product dominates. They got the retail, like they're good,
crush.
right? Yeah. So
You got to have them in their stores. Like you have to.
Exactly. And they just fucking smash everywhere. And it's like, okay, whatever. But, you know, I think generally it's an interesting question. Then, you know, let's talk a little bit about, before that. So, after the sales thing, what was like, how long was your tenure at Connected?
Fuck, I was with Connected, like I said, in Sacramento Collective Efforts. Then, I mean, I think, God, 7 to 8 years, I think, with them. Fucking just in the trenches with them for about, I think, 7 to 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a fucking long time.
Yeah.
So then, okay, you're getting there, you're doing your thing, you're trying to figure out what to do. I know you're a hustler by nature. I won't say too much more than that, but like, how did you decide to make the plunge? I know you had been flirting with it a little bit, but like, what made you like bump up against that thing where you're like, fuck it, I'm going to do it? Because that's a big all-in commitment, and especially if you're dominating sales. Everybody knows if you want to make big money and you're a good salesman, that's, you know, where it is in the game, because there's people are relying on that. But, you know, how was it to make that jump into just doing your own thing?
Dude, I'll be completely transparent. Like, it was in my mind for like 3 months. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say something. I'm going to do it. It got to a point, like, and I think that the whole Connected team, like, they've been a full supportive of everything that I've done till this day. But it was tough. It wasn't an easy decision. Like, I felt it was family, right? It's like you're leaving your family. But again, going back to it with Caleb, you know, had a long talk with him, and like, we both agreed, like, you know, I think it's time, you know, like he even said it himself. He's like, you know, you've hit your plateau in our company. There's nothing really more for you to really do. And not like that's a bad thing. Like, yes, I could have stayed there, but he was like, you are a hustler, you're a grinder, and you want more, you know, and really talking that out with him, because that was, for me, the scariest point is actually talking to him about it and going and saying, hey, I think it's time for me to leave. And that took me, you know, 2.5, 3 months to actually go to him and talk to him about it. But at the end of the day, is like, you got to look out for yourself, right? And you know, and that was my biggest thing, is like, I know I have something more in me that I want to do more. And I'm going to not do it for someone else. I want to do it for myself.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And then again, shout out to Caleb for just always being that supportive guy. And, you know, like I said, there's a fucking lot of people off that tree. And I think sometimes people fall into the habit of thinking inaction isn't a decision.
Yeah.
Inaction is like the easiest decision to make. So when was like the official launch date at Turn? I know you guys are pretty young.
Yeah.
Is a brand.
So coming up actually this month, September, Turn is officially 1 year old. I had an interesting scenario with Turn. My partner, Rob, and his wife, Bree. Basically, Rob is the creative genius behind Turn. Like, I tell everyone that I don't take any initiative that, like, he has built this company, like the branding, the creatives, the ideas behind it. He's a genius. Basically, someone introduced us two together. One of our friends that was really big in the industry, and his name's Rich. And introduced us, said, hey, you guys would work really well together. I think that you know, with the cannabis industry knowledge, and the sales knowledge, the supply chain knowledge, and all this, Rob's, you know, with the branding and everything like that, you guys have become a good partner together. So fast forward to today. I mean, it took a lot of work, but yeah, we're a year old. I feel like we're doing pretty well in the industry.
Bro, I just happened to have it. And it wasn't that I knew you were coming on, and I was like, this motherfucker's in the top 10.
Yeah.
God damn that. And like, you know, I'm going to get into how, because this is like part of, you know, what we want to preach. Cause like the playbook, it's not that complicated.
Not at all.
A lot of it is just hard work and going around and, you know, getting to know people. And, you know, I'll ask you specifically, but like, there hasn't been anybody, maybe there's one in the last, you know, 3-4 years that have come out of nowhere and become a top 10, you know, brand, and, you know, only a year. When's a year? The birthday?
It's like, that's actually next week, I think. So yeah,
we'll throw them on our stories. Yeah. Usually staff will remember, and I'll be like, oh yeah, let's do it. But, you know, congrats on the 1 year birthday. And like, fuck, man, these things build slow too. So like, you know, what you've done so far, I just think there's so much energy and, you know, in front. And then everybody on our side is just like, oh, Nate's a pleasure to work with. It's fucking easy. Always brand support everything. So tell us, like, you know, obviously we had a little bit of a connection. So you had the part of getting in the door, but people think like, oh, I'm in the door, I'm good. Nah.
No.
So tell us why, like, you know, what you've done to make Turn such a fucking success in this short amount of time.
First of all, it's a team effort. Like, I mean, shout out to our whole team. Like, I can never take the whole ride for that. The whole team works hard, but really for Turn is we want to connect with people. Like, that's our biggest thing. And going back to what I said earlier was like, everyone wants to sit behind a desk and just point fingers, do this, do that, do this, do that. You'll see myself, like, or my partner Rob, and all of our partners that are involved in Turn are hustlers. They all want to grind, and that was the good synergy behind us. And you know what we believe at Turn is, you know, of course, shout out to Catalyst, they're a crusher of an account for us, but we treat every account the same way. Like, there's brands out there that only want to hyper focus on like these big accounts, and oh, that's all we need. We just need these, but you just never know. These little stores might crack off for you, and you might just miss one. And so for us, it's just like, me personally, when we launched, like, I was going in doing basically with our sales reps, opening the doors, talking to the buyers, talking to the owners, and so as our partners, and we did things ourselves. And then from there, like, I can probably go to a Catalyst, any of our Catalysts, or maybe not your newer ones, but like some of their OG ones and some that's in the Southern California area, and I know people at the store.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing, like, is knowing people.
There it is, bro.
Like, it's just like getting to know people and build. And again, going back to what Turn's all about is building connection. Like, it's not about, you know, for us just selling product. It's like, what does Turn do for people, and how does it affect people, and how does it change people? And that's what that's part of our ethos, is like we preach that, and we want to connect with people. And like, I love fucking talking. I love getting fucking and communicating with people. And that was our biggest advantage. Like, none of the partners and none of the executive team was scared to get their hands dirty. They were in the trenches. We were all working hard and all doing everything we had to do, and connecting with the bud tenders. Literally the most important thing. And I think that's what a lot of brands forget, is like, they go to Elliot. Hey, Elliot, why is my product not selling in your store? That's probably the wrong person. If you're asking Elliot, like, thanks
for saying it for me. That's fine.
Yeah. But like, and even it happens at my own retail store. My buddies are like, why is my product not selling at the store? It's like, dude, you're not doing work.
Right.
You got to do it yourself. It's like, and going back to what we were talking about earlier, you just got to lead by example.
Right.
You got to do everything yourself, coach your team, train your team, and do the grind with them. Yeah. It's a simple recipe. It's just, it's not a hard recipe to make something successful.
Yeah. And I think, you know, as you get into, even if it's a one store off, and I love the concept of like treating the one off is valuable, is the, you know, whatever, the 20 off, just because, again, A, you never know, and B, that's an important account too. And like, at the end of the day, you know, you might, you know, a shopper might come in, the brand name gets out there. And, you know, I think it's also good. It sounds like your team has got really good synergy. So like, what makes a good team is, you know, this guy's really good at this and this guy's really good at that, because partnerships are hard. But when you really have that symbiotic thing where like one guy's taking this lane and this other guy's taking this lane, you know, it goes easy. You know, tell me a little bit about the name. How'd you come up with Turn, the name?
So again, you know, Turn is like, I'm never one to take things that aren't like mine. My partner Rob, you know, his whole thing is like, it's your turn. Like, going back to like communicating and touching people, like, it's your turn. And so that was his idea. And he's like, he built the name Turn because it's brandable. But you know,
look at this fucking clothing, man. It's fucking fire.
But that's a Made clothing. That's another brand. We'll talk about that one later.
Yeah.
But yeah, Turn is just like really just communicating with people and connecting with people. It's like, it's your turn. Like, what are you going to do about it? And that was basically his like mind behind the brand.
No, that's cool. Tell me a little bit about Made.
So yeah, Made's launching here in Arizona. We just had our first harvest this last Monday. Made is launching in Arizona under one of our facilities called Project Packs. It's another business. And we're also going to be launching in Nevada. Project Packs is basically a safe haven for cultivators. Jordan from Blueprint is one of my partners out there. He's basically running the chief of cultivation in Arizona. We had a badass team already there when we took over that facility. But basically what we're doing there is, one, you know, 750 lights it's a lot of weight, right? And originally the plan was like, Made and Blueprint, we're going to take this facility. But at the end of the day, it's like, yo, that's a lot of canopy for a very small market. So the one cool thing about working with good partners, you can go a long ways. Jordan was one of the best growers in the game, like literally. And so and every grower trusts him. And, you know, you look at some brands that expand to other states and they just throw their genetics, and it's detrimental to a brand because they just grow it. No one grows your weed as good as you do.
No, I think that's super important. And what I have a lot of respect about Connected and some other brands that have stuck to it, they didn't just go throwing their name on anything. And then at the end of the day, if you lose the quality control,
Lose your brand.
you're going to lose your brand. And then like you might get a little lick in the short run, but the brand is like got fucking big buku equity in it. So tell us like, so you got what, 75 fucking thousand feet in Arizona?
Yeah, it's a 70,000 square foot facility, 750 lights. What we've done out there, Jordan's running the cultivation side. And again, I'm running the business development and sales side. Again, it's all about partnerships, picking like what you're good at and not overstepping. And what we decided to do is we brought some big brands out there that are launching with us. Brought out Preferred Gardens, fucking monster in California. He trusted Jordan to basically grow his genetics and the team out there. We're bringing out Wizard Trees. We're bringing out Preferred Gardens.
Got all the heavy hitters in the Rolodex.
Yeah. Blueprint.
Right.
And Wizard Trees too. So we're bringing out some big heavy hitters out to Arizona, and we're going to replicate that. Well, I'm going to replicate that same thing, and also in Nevada too. We just acquired a license in Nevada probably like 3 months ago. So we should be putting plants here very soon, just waiting for licensing change in the next like 2 months.
And then what are you going to call the flower?
So basically we're doing the same thing. So all my core brand is called Made, and we're basically launching that in Arizona, Nevada, and California. So that will be a canopy user at that facility. Got to basically keep the brands and the entity separate. And then we're going to start bringing brands out like how we did in Arizona out to Nevada too.
Then Arizona's a little different, right? It's like all vertical, or how does that, so like the retail guy has the cultivation, but you could sell to other licensed shops, or how does I don't know a lot about it, but it's a little bit different how it's set up.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. So basically if you own a dispensary, you have access to opened up cultivation, manufacturing, all this stuff. And getting licenses at that time back in the day wasn't easy. So a lot of big MSOs have it. So what we do is we grow everything ourselves. We rent the building. We took over the facility, but basically you rent a license from one of the MSOs, and then you basically grow underneath their license. And then from there, it's an open sales market, just like California.
Wow, that's crazy. So let me ask you more like kind of, whatever you want to say, emotional question. At night, when you go to bed, and you're thinking about everything you did the day before and what you're going to do tomorrow, what's that whole process of reflection? Like, how do you get down and then bang back up for the next day and be, humming at a good speed?
It's tough. I mean, I'm sure that you too, like turning that off switch is the hardest thing. Like
hard as fuck.
My girlfriend, shout out to her. She puts up with all my hard work and is a huge supporter, but like, it's not easy. Like, bro, like, I mean, I could work till 3 a.m. or I can work till the next day if I had to, but it's very tough. And it's been actually a big challenge for me personally is like when to turn off, like, because I don't know how. Like, I'm built like to keep running and run till I fall asleep. But as you get older, you understand that you can't do that as much anymore.
How old are you now?
I'm 33.
33, dog.
Still got some time to catch up. But it's just like
still in your prime, bro. It's easy.
Yeah. And so now it's just like I have to like put my phone away. Because my phone's like
Demon's fucking doing it right now. I don't have the normal timer, so I got it here, and it's like, why the fuck did I do that? Yeah.
And so like it's tough. I mean, it's hard. Like I'm not there.
So like, what's your normal time? You're like kind of start zonking out.
Probably like 12.
And then so you put your phone where?
My phone is still right next to me. Like still, but like
just click it off.
But I click it off, put it on do not disturb, and I used to keep it up so where I could see text messages like and
I was gonna be like, bro, I start sweating if I just fall asleep, then it's off. Yeah.
So I turn it off, turn my phone upside down and basically fall asleep. But I'm back to the grind. Like I'm been getting back into working out and stuff like that. Not to go into that, but like getting back up again at 5:30.
I'm super interested in this because I actually think that like, and look, I struggle with this a little bit. When I've been working out, I've actually had more energy. You think you have less time, but then you get more productive. And I think at least I fall into the trap sometimes of like, oh, I'm on the hustle. I got no time to spare, when it's actually a little bit of time to like, improve your physical condition, improves your mental condition. So tell us a little bit about that. I think to me, it's super interesting. And as I meet more people that are running companies and stuff and like, smoking cigars with some of the bigger guys last night. And like they're saying the same shit. Like for the most part, it's like, oh, okay, you go through the same, shit too. Cause we're expected to have all the answers, right? And like whether you do or not, you just come up with your best answer. So like, as far as like, we working out, anything like that. I know Caleb's got his ice bath going. I'm gonna get there, but like, anything unique about your routine?
I just got a trainer, so fucking just grinding it out. Is this guy from Kenya, and dude, he just grinds me 6 o'clock in the morning. Where the fuck you at? Like, why aren't you at the gym? Working out with him, doing like 4 days a week with him. But it really does help with productivity down the line, because like you think that, oh, I can use this for work time, but like once you get like your day started and hustling, like it's like your hustle starts. Like you're already sweating, you're grinding, like so your day can't get any worse. Like you've just done the hardest part that your body can put. Yeah. So it's like it's a slight like downward. Obviously it's a little bit different. You're pushing your body instead of your mind, but like it definitely helps setting my bar high, starting off right in the morning, getting it going.
Let me pry into a little bit of the girlfriend thing. Super important to have a good woman to support you, right? You haven't had your babies yet, but maybe one day. We'll see. I don't know.
Two puppies.
Two puppies.
Dude, there we go.
But it's just trying to, because I got to balance it even harder, when you get the kids and the wife. But how was that? And like, making sure she gets her time and all that's, done right. But at the same time, like, hey, we're building something, and just, being able to balance that. Like one of the biggest, or probably the biggest thing that I have, when I go home, I got that little bass, like, hey man, it's been a long day, but like, yo baby, you got him. Let's go. Boom, boom. We connect, and then we go. So tell me a little bit about, having that, rock or that level of support to make everything work.
Like Paige, she's been a blessing for me, right? She's been a rock for myself, and like, she's really been there in that whole transition period of me really like when we first met. I think, I was still running with Connected, and, and I was just, we were just still talking and, and shit like that. But she's been a big support system. I mean, it's been tough, because every 6-7 months, a new business is like, oh fuck, I got this going now. And it's not easy, as you know, and, being able to come home and understand like, while you have a support system, like you get the, what I've been trying to really focus with her is just like getting back to having nightly dinners and like just putting down, relaxing, and just having a clear conversation. But having a strong support system is so important to any entrepreneur. Like it's either you have one, you can't have one that doesn't support you. And Paige is like a huge supporter of me. And what she does for me is I can't even express the gratitude.
Shout out to Paige. She's got one. Oh, that's cool. When y'all getting married?
Oh, man. One day soon.
That's cool, man. And then, going back to, California turn, like what's like the next 6 months, year kind of look like, as far as like, how you're going to continue to try to advance the brand. You're doing it the right way, organically. You didn't come in with all this fuck you macro marketing money. You're doing it on the hustle, and a good idea and a good plan, something that connects with the people. But what's the next 6 months, year kind of look like for Turn?
Yeah, for us is really hyper focusing on, in California alone, is not opening up new doors. That's like, we don't want, that's like it's against our strategy. I mean, yes, in some territories that we have a new sales rep will open up doors, but really is how can we grow our current accounts? How can we better them, and how can we be a better partner? So for the next 6 months, really, and for however long we're still here in California, right, is making sure that we tap into our existing customers and how we can grow them, how we can be better partners, how we can, not only benefit Turn, but how can we benefit the retail store, and how can we help them make more money? And, down the line is like, our first product we launched with was our disposables. And then now we have our pod packs, which is like basically our proprietary system. And this is our biggest focus for the next probably year, is making sure we get this up to as highest sales as our disposables. We're launching some new SKUs, but the pod pack is what makes Turn unique, and that's what we're going to put all of our focus on.
I was going to ask you about this hardware, because it's super unique hardware. How'd you guys come up with this hardware and the design and all that? Look, I think that's not the only reason that's driving it, but when you look at it, you're like, oh, like that was my first take.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah,
it's different. And the cool thing is like, there's a lot of cool vapes out there. Not going to throw fade on anyone, but the thing that makes Turn unique is being the ease of use. A lot, like, I don't read directions at all. Like, I open something, IKEA box, where's the fucking directions? I don't read shit. And so what we wanted to do at Turn is like, how many customers buy like one of those 510 screw batteries, and you have to flick the temperature. You don't know what temperature it is, and your user experience is terrible. And like, there's been times that I bought supposedly like a fire pen, but I didn't have it on the right temperature, and I thought it tastes like ass because I didn't have it on the right temperature. It's not the brand's fault. It's my fault.
Right.
As a consumer.
That's actually what I've learned. Don't use the other battery. Like, yeah. And then like a brand that I really like, their batteries ran out. I had to like start going around. One of the bud tenders had one in the back because it does smoke different. Yeah. If you burn it too hot or whatever. And some of the batteries, and look, maybe some people like to ingest it that way, just blast it.
And then going back to that too, like Turn, like what makes it unique is like, we don't lie what we put inside of our product. A lot of brands try to say they don't use distillate, and they're like, oh, it's liquid live resin or live resin infused and all this shit. And so like, we don't lie. Like, we have 3 consistency oil. We're very upfront with bud tenders. Yeah, we use, one of our products has distillate in it. We have distillate, 100% live resin, and then we have rosin. But what makes the experience great for the consumer is that you can use the same device for every single one. And the great thing about the pod system is when you put the pod in, the device automatically knows whether it's live resin, rosin, or botanicals and distillate, and it automatically adjusts the temperature for the consumer. And so that customer...
How's it know that?
So it goes basically off of our magnetic strips on the bottom of the device. So when the two strips touch, it automatically adjusts.
Oh, it doesn't I got it. Yeah. It knows because it's, but that's still pretty fucking amazing. And then, so like, what was the, like, okay, so we're going to come out with this, launch this vape brand, Turn. Did that, like, how did you figure out, like who fucking engineered this like hardware? How the fuck did that like come from nothing to be like this beautiful born Turn hardware? Like, dude, what was it behind that?
Again, shout out to Rob. Rob fucking spent hours and hours for, I think a year and a half on sitting with China at, while I think he just had his kid back then. He was on the fucking, basically called to China at, our time, like 2-3 a.m. in the morning, hustling and grinding and building out this device. And so, like I said, he was a pinnacle reason why Turn's successful, because he put in those hours and making sure we had the best hardware possible. And now that's what we truly think it is. It's something unique and something special. And, it brings out to the consumer, like something that's like something they have every day. It looks just like the AirPod case. Right. It fits nice in the backpack when you're traveling. Everyone thinks it's AirPods. So you don't ever have any issues with TSA. Right. It goes really
working out there, bro. That story fucking, we were talking a little bit before we went on. Fucking goddamn felony charges for a fucking burrito and a few pre-rolls.
That man loved it.
That was fucking crazy. That was actually, for a modern day story, like, you hear some really bad ones about like this dude got 15 years for a little bit of weed, 4 or 5 years ago. But for a modern day story, at least of somebody who I know well, that was like beyond the pale, just stupid. As far as what was the fucking gonna ask you? Now I'm drawing a fucking blank. Don't worry, we won't fucking edit that out. We keep it. Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you. So you obviously are extending credit and stuff. This is always an interesting conversation. So like, how do you decide how to extend credit? And I know you have the big advantage of kind of knowing, because you're from you're from sales, so you kind of know who's paying, who's not. But how does that work? And are you seeing guys moving a little slower on payment? I'm hearing that a little bit out there. What's your kind of your overall take on that?
I tell basically all of our partners are sales reps. No matter how good someone's paying, I always add 10 to 15 days to what everyone says they're going to pay. Right. Which is just the part of the industry. But we're very strategic on who we pick. You have to be in this industry. There's a lot of people that owe us money, and I won't even name names. I think you shouted them out on.
Well, it's funny. That was the one thing when we left. Caleb was like, "Oh, we forgot to fuck up Speedy Weedy." I was like, "Oh, I didn't know you wanted to do it," but like, yeah.
There's people like that owe us money, and and it sucks. Like, it's just like, at Turn, zero outside like financial investments. Everything's from internal, and so like it's bootstrapping the company and making sure it gets to where it is, and that's very tough. Like, going back to even when we first started, like going like, oh, we had to work with these smaller accounts. These are those small. That's why like we put so much love and care with those smaller accounts, because when you're a new brand, no one wants to fuck with you. Like, zero people, and so like you have to take those chances. Like, all right, even though I have this relationship, they might fuck me and not pay me because I'm a new brand.
Right.
Like, so like we have no brand power.
Well, there's definitely people out there, which is, this is like the 9th level of hell. They're just rotating brands out.
Yeah.
And they're taking shots at some of the newer brands or maybe less popular ones. And like the intent going in is,
it sucks. Like we had this I'm not even gonna name it, but there's an account out in the IE.
You can throw it out there.
It's like they fucking owe us fucking money. They sent us a confirmation of a wire that they were sending us the COD, and then we found out that they withdrawed it after they paid us. The most shadiest shit ever. Like I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, and so that shit pisses me off. But like you try to believe in someone that you're going to do something good because we're good people, you're good people. Right. And so like, you don't think that someone's gonna fuck you, but there's literally people in our industry, and it's the only industry like that in the world that
to me, like the 5-10 day curve, or like, hey, I got a little bad, I'm gonna work it out. That's just whatever.
The people that communicate, like that's like, hey bro, like I'm going to be 10 days late. Perfect. Thank you for letting me know. That way I'm not, my sales team or the AR team's not running around. Like I take that so much to heart. Like, yo, you're actually manning up to tell me you're gonna be late.
Right.
And I appreciate that. Like that's to me means so much. But like to answer your question, like when we first started, like we had to take risks. Like we were new kids on the block. No one knew who we were. Who the fuck's Turn? And so, and it's a chance that we had to take. And it's the same thing that we're doing with my flower brand Made. Like no one knows who we are. And so we just have to prove worth. That's all you got to do. Like prove it sells through and hustle and
once
provide.
It sells, they're always going to come back. And buy. That's it. That's the way it's going to go. How many people are on your team right now?
So sales, we have San Diego, we have LA, we just hired someone in Orange County, Sacramento, and then we have about 5 sales reps, and then outside of sales reps, we have about 10 other people. So it's like 15 people, which is not a lot.
It's fucking mind blowing. I always say, like, the lower the number somebody gives me, obviously growers need to have pruners and everything, but the more impressed I am. Like, for you guys to be a top 10 brand with a company of 15 fucking people, that means you only got Spartans and soldiers on there. You ain't got no anchors, no dead weight. And then so you kind of carve it up with the salespeople by territory?
By territory, yeah. So they all have their own territories. And again, going back to it, if you don't perform, like, they all know. I mean, if you're not performing, they know who I am. Like, I'm not hiding anything. Like, if you don't perform, like, and it's just any sales, like you, obviously, if there's reasons for you not performing, and if it's our company's fault, of course, we're not going to like do anything. But like at the end of the day, it's sales is sales, and sales is cutthroat in any industry. Like if you're not performing, you're gone. But we're lucky enough to have fucking hustlers and grinders, and again, leading by example. And your team hustles. Like our team is so much killers. We had our shout out to Spencer. He's our Sacramento sales rep. He started off as a brand ambassador with us, hustler, just grinding. He was like, yeah, I'll do anything for you guys. You tell me. And then we moved him up to sales in Sacramento with some guidance, and he's been fucking crushing it. And like, that's for us is really important for us is internal growth. Like that's what makes me happy is like when I can put more money into my employees' pockets that's been grinding with us. That's really my goal of running a company is like, of course, sometimes you'll have to hire outside, but if as much time if I can spend putting energy into an employee, they're going to spend the equal amount of energy, if not more, putting energy in your company. And then they're going to want to work harder. And when I see that, I was like, I want to make that person more money. Like my goal is to make all of our employees more money. I mean,
and I think it's a leadership quality, and why I knew you'd be successful out on your own is like, everybody's going to make mistakes, right? So you just make them, you calibrate, you learn, you get better, right? I think that's something that's acceptable. And sometimes it's even a good thing. Like, hey, I tried it. It didn't work. I'm going this way, that way. But being able to get people to buy in because they see that you're working and that they see that, hey, at the end of the day, you're staying humble and you're going to respect them. And that if you come up, they're going to all come up with you, which I think is super important because otherwise, like, they're just passing time to get to the next place. And in this game, because it's super lean and everything's got to be cut down to the bone because, all the fucking policy issues and stuff, like, if you don't have that, you don't have that. And then, how did you end up? So you got, what's his name one more time? Rob, the creative guy. And then, sorry, Rob, another shout out to you, but I can't remember names for shit. Yeah. And by the way, we got to go fucking find Rob and fucking get him on here.
Yeah, we do.
But how'd you end up like drafting him? Like, so how did, like whatever, you put him on Indeed or how do you end up finding guys?
No, Rob found me.
Right. No, but I don't mean Rob, but I mean like, so you're like, whatever, you're going to open a new territory.
Our sales reps. And
yeah.
Really, it's just like, I hate to say it, but like, it's really kind of finding other people that are good at in other companies, like, or like that's what it is. Like And there's a lot of companies, like no offense to edible companies, but like do you want to be a representative of like some edible company that has no name to it, or do you want to come work with someone that's, doesn't grind and hustle with you?
But it's always a risk too. So like, as we're also starting to hire more people and maybe even trying to get, a couple bigger people that could really kind of get into the logistical stuff, like it's a risk for them because they might have this safer job or what they think is safer, where they're going to get some dough or whatever. And it's funny you said I call it poaching. I'm full admitting that I'm fine to poach now because like as the industry evolves, and it's cool. Like we're opening Oxstar tomorrow, so I always go in. I like to meet everybody. Like just if we're gonna hire you, I used to do individual interviews. Now I'm good just to meet them and get like a quick whatever 10 minutes on my end and 2-3 minutes each guy. But as you hear their story, you're getting all these people from all these different stores that have industry experience. So when we're hiring now, we have those options as we start to try to hire further up. Like I'm down to poach. Like it's not a bad.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, every industry does it. Like you go to mortgage brokers, like the directors want to find the sharks. They don't want to have a guppy in the game. Like they want to find the sharks that they're going to stand by their side and work with them. And
yeah, it's like the lily pads. If somebody's super competent, like they're not probably ever going to be without a job. Like, and this is maybe mildly inappropriate, but I'll just say it anyway. It's like hot chicks. It's like how my wife had a boyfriend when I got her. Like she's not going to like the really good workers. Maybe fucking whatever toxic masculinity or whatever. The really attractive women, they're like frogs on a lily pad. Like very rarely are they going to be in the water. So, it's not a bad way to draft people. And what's getting cool now is, there was always this like, as it was starting out, you had people that with no cannabis experience, like kind of dipping in. And then now you could have people that have both. And then they have a little bit of a resume. Like I don't get too deep in the resume. I'll be curious where they work at and stuff. But if they've had success in the industry already, and then like, it's like impossible, bro. If you were going to bring in a fucking sales rep from, wherever Gap, not to, blast Gap, like it's never going to work. They have to know how the hustle.
Not even that either. It's just this industry is solely based off of relationships. So your name is everything in this game. And, it's very tough. Like we have sales reps that we brought in with no cannabis experience or no cannabis sales experience. They've smoked and stuff like that. But the people that are in the industry that know the relationships always have the leg up. Like, cause you're like, especially if you're a good sales rep, like let's say someone knows Catalyst or shout out to Bree, someone knows Bree. Like they have a leg up for someone that doesn't know that buyer or that manager, because it's very hard to get into the door. I mean, there's been times when we that turn, like I had the reverse. Like I was sitting in when we first launched, I remember this one store like made me and my sales rep wait in the waiting room for an hour and a half till we saw them. And it was just like, fuck, we closed them. But it was just like, we didn't have that relationship with that account. And there's for 100% sure, like I remember that same day, some other sales rep came by and just like, yo, what up? Shook the hand of the buyer, went straight to the back door. And that's what it is like this this industry is really based on relationship, which is a good thing. Like people want to work with good people, like-minded people, and you just got to get past that door. And once you get past that door, you're in it.
No, it's a long-term patient strategy. Another thing Nate D takes credit for, is just since you brought it up, is Bree. So when we were doing our, like we were going to go out and do our own thing. We needed a buyer, right? Whatever. I know good product, bad product, but I'm far from a product expert. So it was like, who we're going to get. And Nade's like, got to get fucking.
Dude, Bree's awesome. Yeah. Dude, like I remember when I first hired her, she was, I think, still working at some trap shops. And
I think she used to work at a trap out in Pedro or something. Yeah, I don't think she'd care if I said it right.
No, she doesn't. She still repped it for sure. Yeah. But it's great. She came on as, I think, a bud tender at Santa Ana when we were Cookie Santa Ana. And I was like, at that time when we hired her, I remember like we were maxed out of hiring. Like we were full. I remember she was like the last interview and I was like, fuck, this girl, I can just tell this girl's a savage. She knows everything. We hired her and she worked up her ladder from a bud tender to an assistant manager to a manager, then to a lead buyer. Then I don't even know from where in your company she is now, but like it's been so that like going back to like empowerment of your employees and watching them grow, like that's a cool ass story to see where she's been, in your guys' company.
We have, I'd say, close to half our guys have come up at entry level bud tender positions and or interns, right? We had 2 guys intern with him. One's director of ops now at 24. Other's director of purchasing. He's probably 24, 25, 23, whatever. So like but at the end of the day, if you really put your head down and you hustle in this game, I think in particular, like some of the other stuff doesn't matter as much. Like if you understand people, you understand the game, like you could really rise up, you know, all the way, you know, if that's what you want to make a career out of. What I think makes cannabis really cool, I think there's a lot of people in the industry that might not fit in whatever the suit and tie 9-to-5 box.
Absolutely.
And they fucking just crush it in this game, and they're able to, you know, and you know a lot of, you know, you were there, fucking Jordan. I could go on and on about, you know, people that have, you know, started down at the store that have been with us since, you know, whatever, 2016, 17, and are, you know, worked their way all the way up to the top. So tell me a little bit more about Nevada. We touched on it a little bit. You know, what's the market like out there, and what are you guys trying to, you know?
Yeah, and so for us, like, Nevada is tough. I mean, every market right now is tough. Like, unless it's one of those like special markets that there's only like 5 licenses and you can make a bunch of money.
I won't call them all out, but that ain't no fucking strategy.
Yeah, it's not, right? But so like, you know, you got to show up, and, you know, and it's, again, going back to like, you take the risk, right? Like, launching in another state is not easy. Like, especially when you're doing everything with your internal team, you're not just throwing genetics off and say, hey, hope it goes well. Like, you know, it takes time and energy, like in being able to be, again, shout out to Paige, knowing how much I travel, it's not easy. And so out in Arizona and Nevada, we're launching cultivation. And in those markets, you know, there are some really good growers out in those markets, but there's nothing, I think that like California is like, has the best weed, hands down.
I don't think that's ever going to change.
No,
I think there will be people that rise up in these new states, and I hope so, because it's like, you know, who wants to have one state take it all? And there'll be, you know, mom and pa names that rise up that are regional, but I don't see California not being the majority of the product in the marketplace.
And our strategy in like Nevada too is just like, we're not trying to come out there and say like, yo, we're the best, because like we want to align. Like, there's some really good guys out there, and it's just like, we don't want to try to say we're the best because immediately everyone's going to hate you. Like, our strategy is different. Like, we're trying to work well with those growers. How can we make, again, like going to turn the catalyst, how can we make your guys' life better? Like I have no ego. Like, yo, this company is crushing it. You know, we're new. Like, yo, give us some of your genetics. We grow fire weed. You can test it out and sell it under your brand. Like, we're gonna do some of that, like some white labeling out in other states, just when we first start. Because again, I have no ego. There's like, you know, I'm just down to, we want to make the business profitable and make money. You know.
No, I think as I've evolved a little bit too, it's like, no, man. If we all work together, and look, there's always going to be competition, but there's more symbiotic relationships than you might suspect if you kind of just dip your head in below the surface, and it's like, bro, why are we battling, bro? It's all good. There's enough out there for everybody to, you know, to eat and do well. So you got to relearn the compliance, who keeps their eye on all that.
Yeah.
Because each thing, and look, we've debated popping out, maybe we do eventually, but it's like a whole new fucking ball game, especially as a retailer, because like you got your little purchasing power stacked up. But you know, how do you keep up with the compliance, the relationship, all the different, you know, brands and stuff that are out there, and keep your finger on the pulse of multiple markets? Because even though there's things that are like, you know, it's weed is weed, but it's a lot fucking different in California as it is in Nevada, as it is in Arizona. So how are you able to kind of like keep your pulse on all of that and just like have a good bandwidth, or whatever you want to say, like a gut instinct of like where it's going to go and what's going to work out there?
Yeah, like in Nevada, like the one I'm really excited, like I get to partner with one of my good friends. His name's Derek. Again, I'm blessed to be able to have 2 really good cultivation partners in both states. Derek's like one of my best friends. Like, literally, we do everything together. He's a homie, and he's basically running the cultivation front out there. But like, it's, as far as compliance and like, and making sure no one's jacks you, your own employees and stills, is like, it's really empowering people that you work with, and, you know, and doing the same thing that we did here in California. You just grind. Like, you go out there, you make connections, you meet everyone. It's just doing everything that we did 8 years ago here in, you know, California. We're doing it in every new state. Like, just starting fresh. We're the new kids on the block, no ego at all. And we're asking for help. Like I'm not afraid to ask someone, yo, I need help. And
so I think the more confident you get in yourself, somebody says something in a meeting, you're like, what's that mean? What's that? Or like, oh, how are we going to do this? You just get more like comfortable in your own skin. So that like asking is almost like a sign of like, hey, strength. Like, yeah, I'm asking. I don't know. I'm trying to learn. I don't know this, right? Let's go. And nobody has all, like, anybody who's walking around that pretends like they have all the answers, that's the guy you're like, I fucking with that.
And we're lucky too, like the industry's still small, like, and we're able, like, there's always someone that you know that's connected to someone out in another state that knows something more than you do. And so we're luckily, like, we in Nevada, Turns works with a distro called Helios. Brian, I've known Brian for quite some time. The Heath brothers, I grew up in Rockland. They grew up in Loomis. Brian's younger brother, Jason, lives out in Nevada and is like an OG in the Nevada game. And I didn't know that till like 6 months ago. It's just asking people, yo, do you know anyone in Nevada? And when we found out, like, oh shit, we have a really good friend there that runs compliance and actually knows the game and knows how to do everything there. And so it's just really tapping into your network, you know.
I think in weed, 2 degrees is a lot. Nobody's more than 3 degrees away.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to call a guy that's going to call a guy. Normally I could get there in 2, but like 3, that's it. That's everybody in the in the entire industry. And then like, what you have any other states in mind, if you could say, or anything you're looking at, or you got your hands full?
Right now we got, I mean,
I can't believe you're in 3 fucking states, bro. That's like fucking mind blowing to me.
Yeah. I think I left connected a year and a half ago. Almost 2 years ago, actually 2 years ago. Yeah. 3 states. We have about 400 lights in Nevada. We have 750 in Arizona, and we'll be at roughly 800 here in California. We have 400 operating now. We'll be at 800 here soon. And then we are in LOI I'll just say it, in Ohio.
Damn, dog. You're fucking crazy. How many in a month? How many days are on a plane?
I'm on a plane 3 to 4 times a week.
3-4 times a week.
Yeah, so I'm traveling
so
quite often.
Like, whatever, if you do it by the month, 12 to 6, you're like half the days on a fucking plane.
Yeah, so I'm traveling. So from California, I have a place in Arizona. She was like, I hate hotels. I don't feel comfortable. If I'm staying somewhere multiple times, I just want to have clothes there. So I have a place in Arizona that, you know, when I go to stay in Arizona, me and my partner Derek, we went through the ringer in Nevada, like 3rd time's a charm. We went through one facility that ended up not going through. We did a JV with someone. They ended up not having to finance it. So we ended up breaking that partnership. The next one, we were like literally we signed the deal, closed it. And then we have the homeless people. It was in North Las Vegas, came and jacked the AC units.
Yeah.
They stole the AC units, and there were some proprietary AC units, water cooled. Then we're like, fuck, we gave up. We were like, dude, this is 2 in a row. We got rid of our place. And then something came to me and I was like, bro, like, we have to try this one more time. Like, and we were like, fuck it, let's do it. And it ended up working out. Shout out to the guy that linked us out there. But 3rd time's a charm, right? And so I
love it. If you hear any entrepreneur story, and like, you know, I don't ever try to preach or give advice. Like, you know, I don't know the answers, but like, one thing I do know for sure, perseverance, persistence, and like, taking the L is not really an L. It's just all right.
It's a learning.
It's a step back. I learned. And when you're winning, you don't really like it's all great. You don't really self-reflect as much. I try to now because I know the L is around the corner. But when you lose, you really got to sit down and be like, you know, why the fuck did I lose? You know, what happened? What could we do differently? And then bang, you make the next move forward. But to me, like, man, I'm mind blown. Like, I know you're fucking hustler to the core, but all those different markets in a year and a half, just fucking scaling like a savage, but still only having a very few people. So what you've been able to do is keep the overhead low and, you know, control the cash, because businesses don't go go out for lack of opportunity. It's always cash flow problems. And look, you're building it
we're bootstrapping everything. Like,
right.
I mean, like me and Derek are hustling in Nevada ourselves. So we're doing everything ourselves. We're going to have 2 employees there to start, like, and we're going to be grinding and hustling ourselves. And it's fun for us, like, right? And the same thing in Arizona. Jordan's going crazy, and our other partner, and that's Cultivations, Tim, where they're flying back and forth between Sacramento and Arizona, running 2 facilities. Like, it's not easy. And Jordan just had a kid, and so like it's having a family. You know, Derek has his girlfriend at home, and so like it's not easy, as you know, and being able to travel all the time. But it's like that's what keeps us going. Like, is being able to think about, you know, where to go home, have a good support system, but being able that understands like once we leave the door, like we're working. Like, everyone always thinks like, oh, you're just going to Vegas to party. No, motherfucker, I go and work from 6 to 9. Don't get me wrong. There's a few times that we have a good time, but like it's really just work. And that's what separates people. Is like, we're just going to work and grind. Like, we just want to build our future. Like I'm thinking about like down the line when I have kids, like what am I gonna do for my family? Like my mom and dad has done so much for me growing up, being my full support system. I remember when I first told them, yo, I'm meeting this guy named Caleb and I'm about to go work with him at some cannabis store. Like, what the fuck? No, you're not. Yeah. But now it's like full circle. They're like, go.
Yeah, no. I've had a little bit of that too. Like just, actually my mom would be like, maybe you shouldn't say as many bad words on the Instagram thing. And I'm like, don't worry, my God. But I think if you don't love the game and you don't love like the sport of it and the people around you and you got your head in the right place, you're trying to uplift everybody around you. I think those are just kind of basic keys, for success. Look, we're wrapping up. Hour could go fast. I could chop it up for days. Any last, thoughts, anything that you want to get in that we didn't touch on while we're here?
No, I mean, man, we've definitely been through the ringer, like from the start to till now.
I told a few. There's more, but
yeah, there's definitely some fun ones, dude. I mean, I oh my God, I have to bring this up. I remember our landlord in Santa Ana.
We're still fucking around with that guy,
bro. What was it? When we were building out the new store, we fucking I think he threw some crazy like sex party or something.
Yes. Well, there's a rumor that I fucking punched him in the face or something. I deny it, right?
Dude, there's so many of those little stories, but that's what makes like our path so unique.
Well, you know what was cool about the alleged punch in the face, and I won't say who it was, but we had video surveillance.
Yeah.
And back then I think you only needed 7 days. Now you need like 90.
Yeah.
And you couldn't quite see it because we were in the back and we were going to move to the front. And the GM, super cool. She's like, you need me to delete it? And I was like, I fucking like that GM. Officially, he never got touched. No. Whatever. He whatever.
Did throw a sex party though?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, no, we were building it out, and there was a full blown fucking like orgy sex party.
It was disgusting. Condoms everywhere, bro. I was like, I was running the store. Like I was like, what the fuck is?
This guy's still our fucking landlord. By the way, I think we've been at like 3 or 4. And it's funny now when I go to find a deal. And there's actually one I passed on. There was a good deal, but the guy was negotiating the lease like a little bit of a dick. And I've just learned like, if he negotiates, and that's not about price or anything like that. It's like not doing it in good faith. And I'm like, bro, I've had enough bad landlords in this game. And then you're a hostage. Like, you got to fucking, that's it. Like, that's your guy. And then like every time we go to renew the license and he's got to sign something, he makes a bunch of cam charges up and then we get jammed up. And I could go on and on about fucking that guy. But, they are widening the freeway, so I'm hoping like, oh man, maybe there'll be an eminent domain in our future. But look, we're gonna wrap it up. Like, man, if you're supporting anybody out there, fucking Nate D been around for fucking years, just a real G, good guy, man. Never ever fucking he and I had a crossword. Always was there when I needed them. Was always supporting. Was always hustling on any little side project that we're working on. And if you're going into fucking Catalyst, give Turn a try. I'm going to end this one by saying, turn for the people.
Later, guys. Appreciate it.